Parker Town Council meeting at 7:21 p.m. Council, please sign in. Okay, let's try this again. Do we need to hit Debbie's as a no?
I did.
Okay. All council members are present with the exception of Councilwoman Debbie Lewis. Mr. Toborg, would you come down here for a quick sec? Councilman-elect Toborg. Michelle, did we bring the paddle? He stopped. Nice, stopped halfway.
No, we're saving that. We're saving that for the
You can
17th.
pull a hammy stopping that fast. coming down the stairs.
Even though he's not officially sworn in yet, he's going to lead us in the most important part of the meeting tonight. So come on down. He's been to council meetings before, so he knows what I'm going to ask him to do. He's going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Well done.
Now, Jeff, be prepared and say goodbye to the next Monday, every Monday night for the next 4+ years.
The rest,
So, do want to thank you for being here tonight, though. Really appreciate it. Because, yeah, in a few weeks, you're going to have no choice in the matter, brother.
Does the chair get more comfortable? Or?
Yes. Maybe. We'll see.
It's lower.
Lower. All right. So, special presentations. We're going to start off with council. If you guys don't mind, I'm actually going to walk down up front to chit chat a little bit. Because even though we all have winning personalities, I have a feeling that most people in the room are here because we're celebrating something pretty cool tonight. And so most of you in the room know about it because you participated in it. But if you don't know about it, if you're here, like, you just shook your head like you have no idea what's going on, do you? Should I have to come down and do this with me? You want to come down with it?
No. That's a hard no from them.
Look at this. I hope she's not here to yell at me tonight. Were you here to yell at me tonight? No. All right, sweet. What's your name, dear? Lisa. Lisa. Lisa, how am I? Nice to meet you, Lisa. So, hey, everybody, this is Lisa.
Hi.
So, what a lot of people here for is because the Parker does something that's pretty cool. We have a thing called the Civic Academy. The town, as an organization, does a lot for its citizens. But one of the things that most citizens don't interact on a daily basis with all the things we do. So our Civic Academy is a way for our citizens to come in and learn what it takes to operate the town of Parker, this organization. Tonight, you guys are here for the graduation of the Civic Academy, so you get to be my helper tonight. Sound good? All right, so if I mess up a name, it's your fault. Okay? Is that how it works? All right, so learning what it takes to put together the town and run the town on a day-to-day basis is something that's always amazed me in all the years that I've been involved. And for you guys who've now gone through the Civic Academy, you've seen it's not an easy process. But if we're doing things right, you never realize that it's going on. That's the beauty of a well-oiled machine like we have here in the town of Parker. So on behalf of the citizens and the staff, I want to thank you guys for giving up your personal time to learn about how your community runs. And, we just finished up with an election year, and I know, Jeff, you've been through the Civic Academy before as well. It's one of those things that's always amazed me that every 2 years when we have council elections, we have people who come out and say, I want to represent the town. I love the town more than anybody else. But the fact is, only a few of those candidates have actually gone through the Civic Academy to see how the town runs. And this is not an organization that you can just kind of step into and be able to handle being in this role. So I commend all of you for taking your role as a citizen seriously and learning about how your community runs. So when I call your name, come on down, you're going to get a certificate, you're going to wait up here, we're going to take some pictures, and then you're going to go off and post on Facebook how cool you are and how you're going to run for town council in 2 years. So, maybe only like 4 people left, so you've got to do, you need a card that says, yeah, okay, because my jokes really stink, so I need you to, okay. So, and if I screw up your name, it's not my fault. Okay, Brenda Edmondson? Close. Tell me what it is. Congratulations. Yes, please. Ryan Baller. Oh, so, if you're friends with Ryan on Facebook, or those watching right now, send him a message that you messed up. All right. Ann Barrington. I know Ann. Come on down. And he made an arm wrestling contest one time. Nice to see you. Congratulations. All right, Taryn Castro. Really? Dave, yeah, exactly. All right, Michael Pecorolo? Good, bad? How do you say it? Cucurullo, okay, good. Congratulations. All right, Richard Dijon. De Young, all right. Thank you, sir. All right, Susan Hankins. Wow, I know. What's going on today? Did I scare them all away? Bill Hoffman? Bill? All right, now this is killing my Facebook fan base here. No one wants to come see this. Gary Julesgaard? Julesgaard? Thank you very much, sir. All right, we've got Curtis Kundred. Jeffrey Meduzia. Close. Close. Congratulations. All right, the one and only, the magnificent Shelley Mango. She told me one time, stop embarrassing me at council meetings. And you know what that means? I have to embarrass her at every council meeting now until the end of time. All right, Tracy Mance, or Mansky? Okay, yeah, thank you. I'm just getting over it, so thank you. Beth Martin. Come on now.
That was the easiest name you've
I know, you get bonus points because that was, yes, thank you, Beth, thank you very much. Chris McGaw? Scott Neff. Now I know Scott. Scott, how long have I known you for? Since you were like 12 years old? Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Suzette Nickel. I know Suzette. Because her husband has an awesome beard too. Where is Tom? All right. There you go. Yeah. All right. Jeannie Nordstrom. Thank you very much. Congratulations. All right. Edsel Ojeda? Yes. Dana Rosenkrantz. Right? It looks scary, but it's easy to pronounce. Congratulations. Thank you. Judy Simpkin. All right, Marlene Tendler.
That's Tender with a calendar from the.
Whoa! You got all right, there you go. And we have a couple that aren't present tonight. Well, obviously more than a couple that aren't present tonight. Give her a big round of applause. We have Lance Smith, Wendy Reedy, and Mark Gephardt, all also completed and work here tonight. So please give everyone up here a round of applause. Jump in the middle there next to. Are you together? All right.
We went into the thing. Oh, this isn't gonna work.
We'll stand back like
I think we should double up.
double up, short piece on the front. Oh, she stood up for it. I make no judgments. No judgments.
Tom goes in back.
Everybody say cheese.
Cheese.
One more.
Say cheese, Parker.
There you go, cheese Parker. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you guys very much. Oh, I teach you about that. That's right. No, I would like to invite all of our Civic Academy graduates to stay for the council meeting if you'd like, but I won't
embarrass you too much if you decide to slide out as well, since we've got a long meeting tonight, but it's up to you. Look, like now they're all guilty. They're like, okay, oh no, she's not. She's like, I'm out. I got my certificate. I am out. All right. Next item on our agenda is our Parker Chamber of Commerce updates. I don't think I saw Dennis here tonight, so.
He's not here this evening.
All right, we're going to go ahead and skip that. And then council, because of the length of our meeting tonight, you guys had all agreed previous for us to go ahead and skip the reports and items and comments from mayor and council. So let's go ahead and move right into our consent agenda. Consent agenda items are considered to be routine and will be enacted with one motion and one vote, unless there's a council member that asks to have something removed for further discussion. And actually, before we do consent agenda, I did skip one item. I skipped public comment. This is general public comment, opportunity for you to talk to council if you are here to talk to them on an item that is on the agenda. Then just sit tight. When that item comes up, there'll be an opportunity for public comment on that item when it comes up. So this is general public comment for anyone who wishes to come forward. There's a 3-minute time limit. You're going to see up above, there's a clock above me that says 3 minutes, and I got one in the back as well. You'll state your name and address, the clock will start running, and then when we get to 0, I'll thank you for your time. So we'll open up general public comment at 7:32 p.m. If there's anyone wishing to address council, this is the time. Whoa, careful! Watch those steps. Our risk manager just grabbed at his chest when you did that.
He's on vacation, I believe.
He's on vacation. So if you would state your name and address for the record, please.
Susan Willis, 15705 Carob Circle, here in Parker.
Wonderful.
Good evening. I'm a member of the Parker Cultural and Scientific Commission and also the Parker Arts Strategic Planning Committee, and that's what I want to comment on. The strategy scorecard that you have before you this evening has been created over the last 7 months by 12 community members with very diverse perspectives. The committee consisted of an artist, an engineer, a dancer, a librarian, an actor, a musician, educators, local business owners, and PACE volunteers and staff. In spite of our varied backgrounds, we all agreed that Parker Arts is inherent to the personality of the town of Parker as a community that values and promotes the arts, culture, history, and science. We began by reviewing other samples of strategic plans, compared Parker's arts and cultural goals and accomplishments with those of surrounding communities, and studied regional demographics. Our next step was the identification of stakeholders and soliciting their input, followed by an analysis of the community survey and the opinions expressed. Through a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, we synthesized and refined our scorecard into the final product that you see before you today. We believe that the community's interests are reflected in the long-term objectives and the short-term initiatives of this strategy scorecard, and appreciate your consideration in approving these plans for arts and culture in Parker for the next 5 years. And I have the final, which wasn't ready today, but will be tomorrow, and I understand a number of you will be attending our celebration. And so we will actually have it in print, long term, with lots of color. So, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else wishing to address council for general public comment tonight? Mr. Trevey? You smiled. That's kind of, is it like an auction? If you make a motion, you just bid like $10,000? No? Okay, all right. We will close public comment at 7:35 p.m. and now I'll move on to the consent agenda. Consent agenda items are considered to be routine and will be enacted with one motion and one vote unless a council person asks to have something removed for further discussion. So with that, council, I will entertain further discussion or a motion on consent agenda items 6A through 6. Is it L? Wow.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion from Josh and a second from Amy. Council, please vote.
Short time.
Even my glasses, I couldn't read it.
Let's get this moving.
Do we need to hit Debbie's or? Oh, there we go. Motion passes unanimously. Next item up on our agenda is item number 7. This is a 7A is a public hearing for Lincoln Professional Park Properties.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion. I move to accept the request by the property owner to withdraw the annexation petition for the annexation and zoning of the Lincoln Professional Park property, which is subject of tonight's public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion from Josh and a second from John. Council, please vote. That motion passes unanimously. Next item up is item 7B. This is ordinance number 1.507.4 on second reading. This is a bill for an ordinance to adopt the 2018 revised budget for the town of Parker and to make appropriations for the same. Rhonda,
Hello,
how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Did you have a good Thanksgiving?
I did, thank you.
Excellent.
Thanks.
Throw some numbers at us.
I will. You
Let's do
ready?
it. Go for
Okay.
it.
The purpose of this budget revision is to increase the 2018 budget appropriation and revenues in the general fund and the cultural fund, and also to increase the expenditures in the capital improvement fund. More specifically, the communications department has raised more sponsorship revenue than originally budgeted and had to use those expenditures for the holiday events that they've had this year. So the result is $8,650 increase in revenue and expenditures in the general fund. The cultural department has increased rentals and programming, and therefore more expenditures are necessary. The request is to budget an additional $151,645 in revenue and an additional expense of $85,166, with a net effect of $66,479 in additional budgeted revenue for the cultural fund.
She should have stayed.
What?
You said Elaine should have stayed to hear that. She already left.
Hopefully.
I'm sure she's aware of it.
She just gave me the information. And the public improvement funds expenditures will increase due to the power line undergrounding project on the east side of Parker Road, adjacent to Robinson Ranch. The town receives annual funding through the IREA franchise agreement to fund this type of project, and the request is now to spend those funds for $209,000. And there's more detailed information in Exhibit A in the ordinance, I have that in front of me also, if you have any other questions or anything else you want to address.
Council, any questions for Rhonda? No? Thank you very much. Since it's a public hearing, we'll open it up for public comment at 7:38 p.m. Seeing none, we'll close public comment at 7:39 p.m. and I'll entertain further discussion or a motion, please.
I move to approve an ordinance number 1.507.4 on second reading.
Second?
Motion by John and a second by Renee. Council, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Next item up is item 7C. This is ordinance number 1.523 on second reading. This is a bill for an ordinance to adopt the 2019 budget and to make appropriations for the same. Mary Lou.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I don't think I've had this many people to talk about the budget in
I
front of.
know.
All right, this is the second reading tonight, and so at the end of that, we are hoping that we will gain council's approval for it. We've kind of been talking about the budget for the last 3 months, and it seems like it's
3 months, more like 9 months it feels like.
2019 budget.
It's a living document.
I'll clarify it. We've been talking about the 2019 budget for the last 3 months, kind of about the same time each month. We had a budget retreat in September, a study session in October, a first reading 3 weeks ago, I believe. And so tonight is the second reading. And in addition to that, on the 12th of October, the budget was published on the town's website, so it was made available to the general public at that point in time. I see that. I'm going to start talking about numbers.
Go.
All right.
While we're getting the technical stuff.
First of all, I want to talk about where we are with 2018. Our cash balance with our projections as we pull together the 2019 budget show that we will have an ending cash balance of $16.4 million, which is a 31.1% relationship between the cash balance and the total expenditures within the general fund. In addition, our revenue is increasing a total of 2.5%, although our sales tax revenue is increasing less than that. In addition, our total expenses are increasing 1.9%. If we look at a couple of our other funds, Whoops, I'm going to stay with the general fund for just a minute. As I mentioned, the general fund is growing on a 2.5% basis on a year-over-year comparison. During that same time period, our sales tax is projected to grow 1.8%. Projected expenditures are approximately $800,000 less than the amended budget, and this just continues to amaze me how, even though we went through our budget adjustments twice during the year, we are still projecting that our expenditures will be even less than that. And again, I had mentioned our ending cash balance. All right. And then to mention just a couple of our other major funds for 2018, the Parks and Rec Fund is projecting $1 million less in contributions. That's something, since it's a little hard to plan on that, we're still showing that those contributions will be minimal. And then they also have increased capital expenditures related to planning for the Harvey Open Space, although it's my understanding the majority of those expenses will be moved into 2019. Transfers in the Cultural Fund declined in 2017. We've had a reduced level of capital expenditures since the schoolhouse renovation has pretty much wrapped up. With that, let's move into 2019, same slide, but we'll focus on 2019 now. Here, our cash balance is projected to be at $15.3 million, which is slightly over a 29% relationship between the cash and our total expenditures in the general fund. Here, our revenue is staying basically flat between 2019 and our 2018 projections, and this is because we are projecting that our sales tax revenue will not increase in 2019. Our expenses, for the most part, they are increasing. The operating expense is increasing 4.1%. The majority of that is being driven by our personnel-related expenses. Our salaries and wages are projected to increase 3.5%, and we've had an 18% increase overall in our benefits. 4.5% of that 18% is being borne by our employees in the form of increased premium payments, and the rest of it is town expenditure. Our capital expenditures for 2019 are just a tad over $500,000, so down considerably from our 2018 numbers. Our transfers out, which in both 2018 and 2017 are to the Cultural Fund and our General Debt Service Fund, are both remaining basically the same. So you see flat numbers there also. Moving on then, if we look a little bit more in detail at our revenue, in the general fund, sales tax should come in at a budgeted level of $35 million. Our building permits at $2.1 million, which is flat with 2018. And our real property taxes are at $2 million. This does reflect a 2% increase. 2019 is a non-assessment year, so we're not anticipating that those property tax dollars will increase very much. On an expense side, we are budgeting $200,000 under our 2018 projections. Again, personnel-related expenses are the primary driver of the increases that we do have. We have an increase of 1 in our full-time equivalent, which employee count. That is an increase within Public Works, and that increase is being funded by a transfer that is coming from our enterprise fund. In addition to that, as I mentioned, we have 3.5% budgeted for an average amount for our pay for performance, and then we have also budgeted for both step and range increases within the police department. I mentioned healthcare costs, and they do continue to go up. And again, they are going up at a rate of 18%. We have taken a couple of steps as far as changes, no changes to the actual plans themselves. However, we are increasing our employee-only premium to $50 per month. They have currently been $0. And we are also eliminating the incentive payment for those employees who elect to utilize a health care plan that is outside of the town's plan. The next slide is just the visual projection of how our operating expenses, so basically our supplies and purchase services, are decreasing from our amended budget to our 2018 projections and then our 2019 budget. Looking again at both our Parks and Rec Fund and the Cultural Fund, we see that the Parks and Rec Fund is budgeting about $900,000 less in their capital projects. It's down from $10.2 million this year. The Cultural Fund operating revenue is budgeted to increase 2.9%. Capital expenditures are decreasing $700,000, and that again is due to the renovation for the schoolhouse wrapping up. The next slide is a visual nightmare, but it is there to show that we do have capital expenditures in many of our funds. The largest expenditure for capital does occur in our Capital Improvements Fund. It is just under $7 million, and that is over half of our total capital expenses budgeted for next year of $13.7 million. The Capital Improvement Fund is basically where all of our major street projects reside, so that is why it gets the honor of being the largest expenditure. To break out just some detail around those capital expenditures, you can see we have the top 6 projects identified by dollar amount in the specific project. We have 9 remaining projects that have been lumped together into the $875,000, and that total is just under $7 million. And then just to highlight all of the interfund transfers that go on, it's one of the fun parts of government accounting and all of the funds that we have and moving money back and forth the way that we need to. We've been talking primarily about the general fund tonight because that is the home of the majority of our operating departments. The transfers that go out of the general fund to other funds are the first 2 transfers listed there. The largest transfer you can see is from the Parks and Rec Fund into the Recreation Fund for the recreation operations costs. So just kind of an example of all of the money that goes back and forth. And then I want to highlight the very last transfer. This is a new transfer that will be taking place beginning this year, and this is the transfer coming out of stormwater into the general fund that will fund and actually overfund, as Thomas taught me to say, the cost of that additional employee in the general fund. So with that, that is the highlights for the 2019 budget. I'm happy to take any questions.
Mary Lou, thank you very much. Council, do you have any questions for Mary Lou about the budget? No?
We've got to see it a lot.
I think you have it tattooed on your left arm somewhere, don't you? Something like that?
That's memorized.
Memorized. All right, we're going to go ahead and open it up for public comment at 7:49 p.m. if there's anyone here wishing to address council on our 2019 budget. Seeing none. I don't know, Mr. Sandoval, you reached up. Is that just itching? Okay. You growing the beard out?
Not after seeing years, there's no way I can catch up.
All right, we're just checking. All right, we're going to go ahead and close public comment at 7:49 p.m., and I'll entertain further discussion or a motion, please.
I move to approve ordinance number 1.523 on second reading.
Second?
We have a motion by Josh and a second, by motion by Josh Rivero and a second by Josh Martin. Council, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Next item up is 8, ordinances. 8A is off-street parking. We've got 2 items for 8A. First one is, number 1 is ordinance number 3.01.117 on second reading. This is a bill for an ordinance to amend sections 13.02.010 and 13.06.050 of the Parker Municipal Code concerning off-street parking and internal circulation. And item number 2 is resolution number 18-086, which is a resolution to approve the model shared parking agreement form. Now, Carolyn, you're going to be leading us through this, correct?
Yes.
All right, the floor is yours.
Good evening, Mayor and Town Council. This presentation is an overview of the recommendation to approve the update to 13.06.050 off-street parking and internal circulation and the resolution to approve the shared parking agreement. The downtown parking study and plan was adopted by Town Council in May of 2017. Near-term strategies of this plan recommended establishing parking standards for downtown to ensure that new development had adequate parking. Town council directed staff to implement this strategy, and doing so, the town hired Kimley Horn to provide an analysis of the existing parking code and draft new parking regulations for downtown. The new parking standards will apply to the greater downtown district and 5 centers with minor changes townwide. Proposed changes townwide include an updated shared parking agreement to ensure consistency with the revised parking standards. The parking ratio calculation will be based on net leasable area for non-residential development. Currently, the parking ratios are calculated by using gross floor area, which includes elevator shafts, hallways, stairs, building entry area, lobby, and lobbies within a building envelope. The net leasable area will include usable space only for parking calculation. Here's an example. So you see how it decreases the area that will be used to calculate the parking. Changes to the parking on the east side of Parker Road will apply to a portion of the town center to the east and the Pikes Peak and historic centers. The new parking standards will require off-street parking with new development, and it will allow parking exemptions for the first 3,000 square feet or less of the building footprint of a new development to accommodate for small additions and infill projects in downtown. Changes to the west side of Parker Road will apply to a portion of the town center to the west and the market and 20-mile centers. Changes include parking adjustments for mixed-use developments to reflect peak hour demands, allowance for site-specific parking special parking studies to determine parking demands, and transportation demand programs that allow parking credits and reductions based on a site's proximity to multimodal options. Changes to the west side will allow new or existing developments to claim on-street parking located adjacent to the site if new on-street parking spaces are provided. And a shared parking agreement will be an option that allows for shared parking with another property within 500 feet proximity to a site. Staff recommends that Town Council approve the ordinance to update Section 13.06.050 off-street parking and internal circulation, and to approve the resolution to update the shared parking agreement form. Are there any questions?
Okay, thank you very much. Council, questions? Josh?
I appreciate the hard work. I appreciate what it took and everything Kimley Horn did and staff has done in the meantime. I appreciate the definition between the two sides, easing the burden on the west and increasing a little bit of the burden on the east. One concern was the recommendation that was in the study was cash in lieu on site limited development, and on that cash going towards a public project, and I didn't see that in the thing. Could we speak to as to why that didn't happen, please?
We chose to do a further study on the cash fee in lieu, so that's not included in this. This is mainly to update the parking standards for the land development ordinance. So we took that part out, where we'll be doing further study on that in future years.
So in layman's terms, it can still be added. We're still investigating it, and
correct.
And thank you very much,
Mr. Martin.
My only question would be on redevelopment. Is it essentially grandfathered in? Is it considered new construction, or is it treated any differently?
This affects new development and any change of tenant. So if a site is going to be redeveloped and say for mixed use, or they have to prove that the new use will can accommodate parking for the site, and if so, we have a different mechanisms in the ordinance that will allow different calculations for parking.
Okay.
Thank you.
Other questions? Don, is that a yes?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'll just echo Councilmember Rivero's comments. I'd just like to kind of further that cash and lieu discussion at some point in the future. I think that'll be, to create more options for developers, I think that's a good thing.
One more point.
Yep.
So with what Mr. Martin said about redevelopment, and have we taken into account the properties throughout? Have we taken the time to look at the properties throughout the downtown area and realized with these that we're not sterilizing certain pieces of property? Have we?
Yes, we looked at the smaller parcels to see, basically that's how we came up with the 3,000 square foot that would apply to that exemption, so that we can help a developer with infill projects, redeveloping sort of the smaller lots. And then, of course, any new development will require some parking. Right now, the town's ordinance currently does not call for parking, so.
So, and then just one more point. Can you talk to me, I'm on the west side, about a shared parking agreement, about a daytime use versus a nighttime use, and how that's beneficial to not have a sea of asphalt?
Yes, basically, we decided to put in the mixed use matrix that will help if a business comes in and there's actually a couple of different uses. If they want to, based on industry standard in the matrix, they can run the parking calculation through the matrix. And what it does is, based on different peak hours of that the business would require parking demands, it kind of evens the ratio out, and it'll establish a lower parking standard so that the site is not overparked. As you can see, there are some areas on the west side where there is kind of a sea of parking, so that's kind of what we're trying to avoid with new development.
So in layman's terms, an office building needs, say, 30 spots. A restaurant needs 25, so together they have 55 spots. But in the shared agreement, we can share those 30 spots and not have a sea of asphalt.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Other questions? No? Okay. We'll open it up for public comment at 7:58 PM on items 8A1 and 8A2.
Move to approve ordinance number.
Got to close public comment.
Oh,
Just want
sorry.
to make sure. Yep. Seeing none, we're going to close public comment at 7:58. Now, Mr. Martin.
Move to approve ordinance number 3.01.117 on second reading.
Second.
Motion by Josh Martin, second by Josh Rivero. Council, please vote. One more item on this one.
Move to approve resolution number 18-086.
Second.
Motion by Josh and a second by John. Council, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Next item up is 8B. This is ordinance number 3.326.1 on second reading. This is a bill for an ordinance to amend section 13.10.200 of the Parker Municipal Code concerning the Town of Parker architectural and design standards for commercial, industrial, and multifamily projects. Carolyn, it's a double header. We'll get you again.
Just had a busy few months.
Yeah. You'll need a break after
Hold
tonight.
on for 1 second here, I'm getting this thing.
Did you plug a Macintosh into our system?
Well, yeah, I wouldn't be used to that level of efficiency.
Oh! All right. No, I won't start singing, don't worry. You want me to?
No.
No? Pull a song out. A little karaoke at town council?
Josh, I only have a couple more meetings left. Go for it.
Yeah. Little town council karaoke.
Negative, Ghost Rider.
And you want to come down and sing some karaoke for us?
I only do friends in low places and only after significant amounts of
Yeah, I understand.
adult spirits.
I think
We
we're
good?
ready.
All right.
This presentation is an overview of the recommendation to approve updates to the town's commercial, industrial, and multifamily design standards, also known as the CIMF. The purpose of the CIMF is to provide direction to promote quality building design. It serves as a tool to evaluate development applications, and it helps to create livable neighborhoods versus just a development. The CIMF was adopted in 1999 and last updated in 2017. The town contracted with Urban Design Associates to update the CIMF. New multifamily design standards were completed this year, and the commercial component is targeted to be complete in the first quarter of 2019. The proposed updates for the CIMF are interim until all of the standards have been completed. Once completed, then the document, everything will be combined into one document, and this document will be replaced with the new standards. Community outreach efforts included 3 design workshops that were held in 2017. Two were focused on multifamily design and 1 on commercial design. Visual preference surveys were conducted to seek public input, and the project team held a development bus tour, which many of you attended. The project team also held meetings with Planning Commission, Town Council, the Technical Advisory Committee, and the Development Liaison Committee for input on the update. The proposed changes to the CIMF include updates to Chapter 2, how to use the design standards. Chapters 3 and 4 include minor revisions to the commercial and industrial sections, and Chapter 5 includes a complete rewrite of the multifamily design standards. Chapter 2 has been updated to include the current master plan land use map that depicts locations for centers and corridors in town. Minor revisions to Chapters 3 and 4 include clarification language to articulate building design for commercial and industrial developments. Chapter 5 includes a complete rewrite of the multifamily design standards. And I'm going to do a brief highlight of some of the standards, which include key steps to design a multifamily development, site design standards, building composition, orientation, building layout, and publicly accessible spaces. The new design standards will feature multifamily building types for a variety of units, such as duplexes, quarter buildings, and walk-up buildings. The new standards also address building composition, building orientation schemes, and development block layout to create a livable neighborhood. The new standards also address preferred ways to front buildings on different types of streets in Parker. This is an example of a multifamily development that was designed using the new standards. The site plan that's on the left shows the original design that was based on the old standards, where the parking lots basically drive the design of the locations of the buildings. The image on the right shows the same development that was redesigned using the new standards, and the revised site plan features buildings oriented towards the street or a greenway. The site has been broken down into development blocks which create a neighborhood feel. The CIMF will continue to align with the Land Development Ordinance and other town regulatory documents. And these changes will also help town staff further the master plan vision for quality design. Staff recommends town council approve the updates to the commercial, industrial, and multifamily design standards. Are there any questions?
Thank you very much. Council, questions? No? All right, we'll go ahead and open it up for public comment at 8:05 p.m. If anyone wants to come down to address us regarding ordinance number 3.326.1. Seeing none, we'll close public comment at 8:05, and I'll entertain further discussion or a motion, please.
I just, real quick, kudos again. I truly appreciate this one. We've been after this one for quite some time. It's not an easy project, and it's taken us a long time, but I think the biggest one for me is the breakup of the buildings, to break up that monotony. We've seen projects lately that just pick and place the same building over and over again, and it's definitely you definitely can see it. And I truly appreciate what we're doing, what we're going to do with this and the quality of project it's going to encourage in the town of Parker from here on out. So thank you to staff for the hard work. With that, I move to approve ordinance number 3.326.1 on second reading.
Motion by Josh and a second by Renee. Council, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Next item up is item 8C. This is ordinance number 3.01.116 on second reading. This is a bill for an ordinance to repeal section 13.10.160, to renumber section 13.10.161 to 13.10.160, and to amend section 13.10.160 of the Parker Municipal Code concerning residential design minimums. Stacy, are you going to be leading us?
I am.
All right, rock and roll.
That was a mouthful. Good evening, Mayor and Town Council.
You get extra points if you can tell me how many times I said dot.
A lot.
A lot.
All right, so the purpose of tonight's meeting is to amend the town's land development ordinance to update the requirements for new single-family and paired units, which are also duplexes, within the town. So in 1998, the town adopted sections 13.10.160, which is called the residential design minimums. And then in 2000, the town adopted section 13.10.161, which is the residential design minimums, but that's only applicable after February 20th of 2000. These sections were adopted to require single-family homes along the same side of a street or public open space in the town to be designed to provide a varied street scene and to eliminate the reuse of identical or substantially similar buildings in close proximity to each other. The current regulations apply only to single-family detached homes and require identical or similar buildings not be repeated more frequently than every sixth house along the same side of any street. Home builders are required to submit building elevations. Each elevation is evaluated based on several design variations. These variations include architectural variety, breaking down building form and massing, and using building elements and pallets to create a distinct differentiation between the structures. The proposed amendment to the land development ordinance includes 3 parts. Part 1 is to eliminate section 13.10.160, as this section applies to the construction of new homes within subdivisions approved prior to February 20th of 2000. Subdivisions approved prior to February 20th of 2000 have been completely built out. Therefore, this section no longer applies. Part 2 is to renumber section 13.10.161 to 13.10.160. And then Part 3 is the major modifications to the existing section 13.10.161. This will bring this section up to date. Major changes to this code include updating the process to reflect the town's current electronic system, updating the graphics explaining the modifications to fit current architecture, expanding exterior surface material schemes, which allows the addition of different architectural elements to differentiate one elevation from another. The section was also updated to apply to paired units or duplexes, which were not included previously. Duplexes are required to meet the same standards as single-family detached homes, but the same building cannot be repeated more frequently than every 4th building. On your screen is an example of a duplex development that is currently being constructed within the town and did meet these new standards. So this proposal will bring the code up to date. It makes the process easier to follow and allows for additional builder options, aligns with the requirements of the new multifamily design guidelines, which we just heard. And the Planning Commission heard this request on October 25th, 2018 and recommended unanimous approval. Therefore, staff and the Planning Commission recommend that Town Council approve Ordinance 3.01.116 regarding the residential design minimums. This concludes the staff presentation, and I'm open for any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Council, questions?
Nope.
No? Seeing none, we'll open it for public comment at 8:10 PM if there's anyone here to address council on this. Seeing none, we're going to go ahead and close at 8:10, and I'll entertain further discussion or a motion, please.
I move to approve ordinance number 3.01.116 on second reading.
Second.
Motion by John and a second by Amy. Council, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. I know we don't want the fun to end, guys, but we only have one item left tonight. Next up.
Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening.
It's the most exciting one.
It's the most exciting one. So this is item number 8D.
This is ordinance number 1.524, and you know what? It's on second reading. It's a bill for an ordinance to approve the memorandum of understanding for the formal creation of the Centennial Airport Community Noise Roundtable. Oh, yeah. Mr. Maloney?
I don't think I can match that enthusiasm.
See, you know what? That's why we have such a crowd here tonight. They all waited to the end to hear about the Centennial Airport Community Noise Roundtable.
So to start things off,
Come on, people. Council meetings are supposed to be fun. Rock and roll.
The town's been a member of the Centennial Airport Community Noise Roundtable for several years, and this is an advisory association to the Centennial Airport Authority. Currently, Council Member Amy Holland is the town's representative to the roundtable. In July of this year, the roundtable requested that the town review a proposed memorandum of understanding concerning the organization and funding of the roundtable, which includes the counties of Douglas and Arapahoe, as well as Aurora, Castle Rock, Castle Pines, Centennial, Cherry Hills Village, Foxfield, Greenwood Village, and Lone Tree. So the purpose of the memorandum of understanding is to formalize the organization and funding of the roundtable, and the purpose of the roundtable is to address noise issues affecting the participating jurisdictions that surround the airport. The financial commitment for the town under the memorandum of understanding will be $1,000 a year for the next 2 years. Amy, is there anything you'd like to add?
The only thing that I would add to this is this roundtable consists of council members, citizens who have been appointed by these municipalities. We also have staff members from Centennial Airport, so it's a very collaborative roundtable, working together to understand what the pilots are up against with departures and arrivals, things like that, weather-related. Sometimes we have runways that are shut down, so there might be more noise towards a different jurisdiction, things like that. And then we also have larger items that are happening, such as Metroplex and things like that, that may hit the Denver community. So not only are we just dealing with Centennial Airport noise, we also have Buckley, DIA, so we're trying to educate all of our community members as to where some of that noise may be taking place. And so it's again, like I said, it's a very collaborative roundtable, and so I am happy to see it become more formal and also something that is working towards just your safety and health in our community, again, when it comes to mitigating some of that noise that might affect your lifestyle here in Parker.
Okay, cool.
Any questions?
Questions, guys? No?
Does it state that it has to be a round table, or, sorry?
Well,
has
you
to be a
know,
round.
It's actually a U-shaped table.
You could use the song Knights of the
And
Round
we
Table
have,
from
we actually,
Spamalot.
9 times out of 10, have probably more public attendance at those meetings than we do here at town
Oh, really?
council. Yeah.
Well,
So,
we
anyway.
got to start
it's a
flying
very
some planes
interactive
around Parker. We good. All right.
group.
Thank you.
We're going to open it up for public comment at 8:14 p.m. And since we've got so many people who waited to the end of the meeting, I know you all are here for public comment on this. So, Mr. Sandoval, you're up first. That's a no? All right, public comment, 8:14. Anyone wanting to come down to address council? Seeing none, we'll close public comment at 8:14 p.m. and I'll entertain further discussion or motion, please.
Well, I move to approve ordinance number 1.524 on second reading. Second.
Motion by Amy and a second by Renee. Council, please vote. Motion passes unanimously, and with no further business before council, we will adjourn at 8:14 p.m. Have a good evening.